they would have prostitutes, they would have women, they would have mistresses. Because of the king, they can do what they want. And
like, if you even look at the history of England,
right,
Henry VIII had 7 wives, and half of them he beheaded. He beheaded
and
them.
he was still sleeping around outside of them.
He died of venereal disease.
Yeah. A lot of people must have known a lot more about this. We are, as the general public, are finding out all these details now because of the power of digital media and being able to share these documents digitally and publicly. But we're really just sort of in awe, I guess, and really realizing how much knowledge there would have been of all of these goings on. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to the Cherry Jazmine show. We are
Cherry B.
And I'm Xavia Jazmine. We are sister-in-laws and friends, and we talk about everything under the sun. And today we'd like to open up that discussion to you. So, what are we talking about today, Cherry B?
So today we are talking about the dark side of keeping calm and carrying on. We're just going to go down the rabbit hole of how when you live in a culture that basically suppresses everything, especially if you are in the public view, you end up having somebody in your family or multiple people in your family like Prince Andrew. And basically, we're going to talk today specifically as well about how the Queen would have dealt with this, because it's come out very clearly that the Queen would have had to know about what was going on with Prince Andrew, at least to some degree.
Our lead story this morning, it's being reported that the late Queen and King Charles both let Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, former Prince Andrew, millions of pounds to pay off his sex abuse accuser, Virginia Giuffre.
And according to The Sun, who's run this story, has yet to pay a penny of it back, because these were loans, they say, not gifts. And it all comes as prosecutors are speaking to police over allegations that the former prince may have shared highly confidential trade information with the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. This is based on some of the emails which have been released in recent days.
To what extent was the Queen complicit in hiding the truth and trying to cover this up?
Well, she was. I mean, you know, I've got plenty of testimony from people who went and complained to the Queen and were sent away.
I think it's clear that Andrew lied to everybody. He was using his royal connections to get in with all kinds of dictators all over the world, but also to be there with Epstein, and that's very concerning.
And there are a lot of people who have said things like, well, how could she have known and not done anything? How would this have happened without, you know, people in the palace knowing, blah, blah, blah. And I think the thing that we need to understand, first of all, is that, yes, the Queen is the Queen, but she's also a person. She's also a mother.
Yes.
And we're not defending her, by the way. We're just trying to be...
establish the reality of the situation.
100%. Because you can't expect any one person to be perfect all the time. And I say that because when children are little, specifically, like the Queen as a mother, there's no way she would have had her children thinking that her son was going to turn out this way, right? There's no way. And I think what a lot of people in the Queen's generation did was just suppress things, suppress their emotions, be quiet about the things that were happening and act like it wasn't happening. And I think that actually a kind of World War II kind of mentality, which, because obviously if your country is being bombed or you're doing things that are, you know, you're in situations where it's life or death, you kind of learn how to put the petty things down and go, we're just gonna keep going, you know?
Hey guys, editing Cherry B here. I just wanted to make it clear that we are in no way saying that Prince Andrew's crimes are petty, and we do believe that he should face punishment to the full extent of the law. His behaviour has been deplorable and repugnant, and justice needs to be done for the sake of his victims and because it's morally right for him to receive the consequences of his actions. Having said that, the point being made here is that while the Queen would have definitely known her son was not a nice person, it's possible that she may not have fully understood the extent of his deviant behaviour until things had snowballed into something she never expected. Of course, as parents, you're always trying to think the best of your child, but as the head of state, you're also extremely preoccupied with your duties as Queen and may have seen those things as more of a priority if she didn't know how bad things were with her son. We also feel like we should make it clear that the whole institution would have had to know as much or maybe even more than the Queen herself knew about Andrew's behavior and whereabouts, specifically because it's now been revealed that they had to know where the royals were going at all times for the sake of security. So if he was doing these things, it definitely would have been more people that knew about his whereabouts than just the Queen. And actually, most of the time, I don't think, like, if you think about your family, you don't always know where your family are at all times. Yes, you might have a schedule, or you might know where they're supposed to be, but it's actually down to security guards or people who are watching you and handling your schedule specifically to know exactly where you're going. So yeah, not to make excuses for the royal family or for the institution in any way, but just to say that the situation may be more layered and complex than it comes across in the media. Okay guys, just wanted to pop that in. Back to the video.
When you really think about it, as heinous as what Prince Andrew was and is doing, both allegedly and confirmed, when you think of that in a World War II or any kind of World War context, it's like, but people are being bombed to death. And the more heinous thing is, I know this was World War I, but people like Hitler and other world powers mass murdering because these world powers are doing such hideous things to masses of populations instead of individuals in the dark. And especially as Christians, we are in no way saying that that's better, but what we're saying is for someone who has lived through that and developed that survival mindset, and as the Queen, who is actually dealing with world wars or world discussions in other places
every single day,
she has a lot on her mind. So we're not excusing it, but we are trying to, as we said, establish what are all the different factors of what she had to deal with, you know, and not to say that this wasn't bad in her mind, but especially as we kind of established before, as the Queen, she is a lot more, especially in recent years, as the years have gone on, she's more the face of royalty than she is the hand of royalty. As in the royals have less and less power. Even if she wanted to come down with an iron fist on her son, at the end of the day, he's still an adult. So there's only so much she can do. And who's to say, she probably spoke to her son a million times. She probably tried to do certain things, but when you're dealing, because I know that the Queen also dealt a lot earlier in her marriage with Prince Philip, the scandal of Prince Philip cheating on her quite publicly, and she had to deal with that as well. So we're trying to think, like, in her shoes, how much did she have to deal with, and, you know, is it really fair to say that she didn't do enough because so much was behind closed doors? Maybe she did a whole lot more than we are seeing.
And I will say this as well. If you know anything about families, what you know is that everybody knows that there's some crazy uncle who's always doing something crazy. But nobody's actually thinking that he is molesting children. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's thinking that he's,
it's the worst,
you know,
of the worst.
or he's, nobody's thinking he's doing that. You're thinking, oh, he's a philanderer, oh, he's a drunk, oh, he's a whatever, and we just have to cover it up, right? Nobody's thinking that it's gonna be that bad. And so when it like, there is a part of the royal family that I do, and the institution that I do believe they probably knew he was doing certain things, but maybe they didn't know the extent of how it was.
Because sorry, I just want to say as well, when I'm really thinking about it, it is very well known, I think, in any ancient history of queens and kings, that the kings especially, the men especially,
they were disgusting.
They were so disgusting, and it was almost culture for the men, even if they were king and they didn't have to marry for any kind of status, because they would have prostitutes, they would have women, they would have mistresses, because they're the king, they can do what they want. And
like, if you even look at the history of England,
right,
Henry VIII had 7 wives, and half of them he beheaded. He beheaded them.
And he was still sleeping around outside of them.
He died of venereal disease.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand, this is not... It's
not an exception.
Yes. And my thing is, we're not saying it's right, but we have come from a history where royalty was literally in power and were able to do whatever they wanted. And it was only when modern times came that then it was like, okay, no, we're actually servants to the people. And then it became a different thing, right? But until that point, literally they were entitled to do whatever they wanted. And so oftentimes that kind of, not just misogyny, but that kind of thought process was carried on from generation to generation in men in the royal family specifically. And not to say that there weren't horrible women, but specifically with men, because we know that even if you think about people in your family right now, think about it, you know that you have some misogynistic men, or you know that you have an uncle who's a hoe, or you know, and I'm not just saying men, I'm just saying in general, like, you know, you have a crazy family member, right? And so what do we as normal people who are not in the spotlight do? We just act like it's not happening. That's what happens. And so, yeah, when it comes down to it, what we really need to consider is that keep calm and carry on is basically the motto of the UK, right? Of England specifically. And while that works in some ways, what we have to learn as a society is that we actually have to get better at dealing with things. And I think what the royal family is learning, like every other family in this new generation, is that, sorry, just so you know, my daughter is literally at our feet just harassing us. That's why we're looking up and down. But essentially, in every new generation, what they have to learn is how to be better. They have to learn how to take accountability, how to go into therapy, how to really deal with the issues so that things don't keep repeating themselves in your family line. Breaking generational curses so you're not just out here, you know, repeating the same mistakes of the past.
We'll just round up very quickly, guys, because little Miss Cherry is, you know, baby Cherry is she's on the roll and she's closing in. So ladies and gents, we've said a whole bunch, and we know there is a lot to say. What do you think? Because the Queen has been called, and I think very appropriately so, the mother of the nation. So a lot of us will, and I think should, have a lot of compassion for her, considering the position that she was in. We're only raising it because we're really realizing it's kind of like, you know, the veil being removed from your eyes, and you're really seeing, you know what, a lot of people must have known a lot more about this. We are, as the general public, are finding out all these details now because of the power of digital media and being able to share these documents digitally and publicly. But we're really just sort of in awe, I guess, and really realizing how much knowledge there would have been of all of these goings on.
And it wouldn't have just been the Queen. There would have been a whole institution of people that would have been covering this up.
And so that's really the question we're answering. If someone as powerful as the Queen could have known about this and maybe even been somewhat powerless to do anything about it, then who else knew what, and how deep does this really go? How deep does the rabbit hole go? So let us know in the comments what you thought. Let us know what you want us to talk about next, because we talk about everything under the sun and we want to open that discussion up to you, and we will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Love you guys. Bye.